welcome back to the Completely Fucking Clueless podcast. My name is Sarah Alice Liddy. Unfortunately, Audrey could not be with us today because she's not feeling well. However, we have a special guest, another Sarah. I actually don't know how to say your last name, and I forgot to ask you before we started.
No, I'm so glad that you asked because it's Baus.
It is Baus.
It is Baus.
Okay, I was saying Baus.
For now.
I think.
Yeah, a lot of people say Baus,
Yeah.
and then I haven't changed my name legally yet because I, I'm a procrastinator, and that's probably one of those things I'm like, oh, we're literally going to hit our 1 year before I do this, but I'm changing it to Bass. So it's a one-letter difference.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
So Sarah B really covers it all.
I love it. I love it. And Sarah is the host of the Attainable podcast.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm excited that this is a duo today.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We've been planning this for so long.
I know.
And it was never going to be in person.
No.
And then I just happened to be coming in town, and I was like, let's get this rolling.
100%. And you're here for work, right?
No.
No.
No. I just came to
live life.
Live life, live, laugh, love.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what do you have going on this week here?
Well, I am going to a show. I'm probably going to do some eating. I was just here in January, and I was not expecting to come back. I think it was actually February. So literally like back to back. But my husband's traveling, and so he's traveling for kind of a while. I was like, I'm going to skip to New York because my work is here.
Right.
So I'm in office, and I can work in office, and it's a lot nicer to just be in office.
100%.
It just makes a difference. And so I was like, why not? I could sleep on my friend's couch and
Slay.
vibe. I feel like this year especially, I'm trying to make New York just kind of like my second home.
Yeah.
And my friend's couch, my couch.
Yeah. So did you grow up in Charleston? Have you been there your whole entire life?
I did grow up there. I have not been there my entire life.
Okay.
I spent a little bit of time in a place called Fort Mill, which is right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, cool.
But it's still in South Carolina because people don't realize that aren't like from the South that Charlotte, if you're in a building, like a tall building, like you can look at South Carolina. It is right on the border. So we moved there because my dad had a job in Charlotte, but then everybody pretty much, it was like the small town outside of Charlotte that everybody lived in.
Yeah.
So all the people would live in Fort Mill, South Carolina, and then commute into Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was there from, I don't know, like, I think it was 2nd to 8th grade. And that's actually, I met Joseph in 3rd grade when we were when we went to school up there. And then I came back to Charleston for high school.
So have y'all been dating since like your young years?
No, we met in 3rd grade. We were standing next to each other in line, and we became friends because we were both pale and, freckly. And so nobody can tell us apart.
Okay.
And my last name's Baus, his last name is Bass. When you're in 3rd grade, like our friends, like people just thought we were siblings. So then we became friends. And we kind of really didn't stay in touch. Like, we're in elementary school.
Right.
And he moved away and then came like for a couple years and then came back in 8th grade, said hello, whatever. And then I moved for high school. Did not stay in contact, did not talk. And then there's this program. I think they have it across like, I'm pretty sure they have it in every state.
Yeah.
We call it Girl State, Boy State.
Okay.
Do you know
I don't
like
think
that?
I've heard about it.
It's a program that, well, we call it Palmetto Girl State, Palmetto Boy State for the Palmetto State, South Carolina. And it's a program like every school in the state sends a boy or a couple boys and a couple girls, it like depends on the population of the school, to this camp. Girls go to Girl State, boys go to Boy State, and you learn how to run for office.
Oh.
And you learn how like the political system is created. And so for a week, like it's funny, they fit like an entire campaign and then a running and a voting all in 1 week, and then at the end of the week, like you have been voted in. So I did like ran for Senate, I ran for like Department of Education, like I don't know, whatever. But then at the end of the week, they have like Boy State, Girl State. They bus you down into the capital of the state, and you all meet and like trade shirts. It's like really, it's very like, but I'm walking around and I see him, and I was like, Joseph Bass, and he was like, Sarah Baus. And so we found out that we were going to school in the same city for college.
Okay.
Went through a whole senior year because that was after junior year. Went through a whole senior year, did not speak. He texted me at orientation, was like, hey, are you here? And I was like, yeah. And we started hanging out. We just never stopped.
Oh my gosh, that's such a crazy story. I have like kind of a similar story with my partner. We met when we were younger and then like met up later in life.
Yeah.
But those stories are always just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
sorry, when did you guys get married?
We got married in September of last year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. How's married life been?
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like being married is super fun. It sounds weird. Like it's not. It feels kind of funny. Like I'm like, oh, I'm married. Like I'm getting used to that. When I say, oh, I'm a wife, that makes me want to like gag. Like he's my husband. Like I'm getting used to the husband thing. I'm not getting used to the wife thing. That just feels like a much older term. I even posted a TikTok, and I think my friends reacted, especially my New York friends reacted like, oh my God, you're 25 and married.
Yeah.
Like it feels very young here. I posted a TikTok about that, and I said like, I know I'm young, and I said I don't want to be part of the Southern stereotype, but like I'm aware or whatever. And I got people in the comments like, married at 25 is not young. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe not to you. I don't know where you're from, but other people, I get it from both ends. So that sounds terrible. I get it from both sides. That like, is it young? Is it not? I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Did you ever like envision yourself being married in your like mid-20s?
I think so. I think I kind of wanted to get married young, but then when I started dating Joseph, I didn't really think much about it. But we started dating when we were like 18, I think. So he, for longest time, was like, oh, we're not getting engaged till we're 30 or like 29 at the earliest.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I was like, bro, you realize we're going to be dating for like a decade at that point.
Yeah,
like,
that's
if you think
true.
I'm waiting that long, you've got a whole nother thing coming.
That's so funny. No, the other day, a couple that I know from high school, they started dating, I think like sophomore year. They're 25 as well, and they just got engaged. I've like a couple of like people that I was acquaintances with or once was close with in high school have now gotten engaged. And I am just like, whoa, because my mom, she actually grew up in the South. She's from Georgia, and she got married at 25, and that unfortunately did not end up well for her. And she wasn't dating this guy for long anyway. So, so she had always instilled in me that like, if I got married at 25 or before 25, she wouldn't allow it.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, now I'm with somebody that I could definitely see myself marrying, but we've only been together for like over 2.5 years. So I'm
People's timelines are so different. And I know people that got married like way younger and are great and have been together for so long.
Yeah.
And I know people who, got married young, didn't work out, got married older, didn't it's just, it's very dependent on the couple, and everybody's so different. And I feel young. Like as a married person, like, no, I am a baby. What do you mean?
Yeah. What have been some of like the most challenging parts of marriage so far?
Really, I don't think there's been a challenge yet, which I should be thankful for, I guess.
Why?
Wedding planning, I was very thankful to be very chill, and my mom was very chill. Yeah. Because she got eloped, and she like didn't want the whole, like she got really stressed when they were planning a wedding. She got eloped, and her mom's like a wedding planner, so her getting eloped was like kind of like a
big thing.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And so she didn't want me to feel that kind of pressure, that kind of stress. And so she would help anytime like I got really, really stressed. And I realized like with wedding planning, you really just got to be like, whatever.
I know. I've never been one of those girls that like plans her wedding since she's like a kid, like some people really are invested in it.
I had the Pinterest board, but that's about as far as I got. And then people started asking me questions, and I realized like they'd be like, oh, well, of course, like, what are you going to do for this? I was like, I didn't even think about that. Like somebody asked, they're like, oh, like, what are you going to do for your exit? And at this point, we're like 3 months before the wedding or something. I was like,
an exit?
Oh, shit. Okay.
An exit. Oh my goodness. That's
like,
crazy.
There's so many freaking details.
Right. There's so many different things. Like sometimes I'll end up on like Wedding Talk, and like I've been on like the side of TikTok with weddings. It's like things that I like wouldn't have done at my wedding, or things I did at my wedding with no explanation, which I just think is so interesting to hear people's different like perspectives on it. I mean, again, as somebody who hasn't like invested a lot of time in like thinking about it yet, it's always so interesting to hear about, especially I think, people who are married in their 20s, which I mean, sure, like I'm not ready to get married yet, but it's completely valid and appropriate, especially when you've been with somebody for so long. It's always just so interesting to hear about like that life and that choice. Yeah.
And I think because we've been together for a while and I've known him for so long,
right?
It's just been fun.
Yeah.
Like, being married is really fun. I didn't move in with him until we got engaged.
Okay.
And so that was new. And you know what I think is one thing that helped, as I think that one of the biggest challenges is like moving in with somebody.
Yeah.
So if you move in before and you're dating somebody, like you get over that hill a lot, quicker. But I so I have this rule with anybody I've lived with outside my parents. They just told me what to do. But I made this rule when I got into college, and then I instilled it when I got engaged and moved in with him. And funnily enough, it backfires on me every time. But I remember I moved in, and it was my first time living with somebody that like wasn't my family.
Yeah.
For college, and I had a roommate and then a suite mate, and so I remember we all gathered around a bowl of chips. It was like our literally first night all together, and I was like, okay, like how do we make this really easy for us to communicate? I wanted to make sure that we could have an open environment. I'm a very like honest and like whatever person. If you tell me that I'm being a fucking slob, like please just tell me I'm being a fucking slob and I can just get over it. And so I was like, okay, but how do we do that? Like how do we best? And I was like, you know what? Let's have a safe word.
I love that.
I'm like, at this point, I think I just turned 18. I'm like, let's have a safe word. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, let's have a safe word. And I think ours was snowman.
Okay.
And I was like, because I was like, I need to be neutral.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, so this is how it works. Snowman, Emily, you left the shower curtain open and that, causes mildew and it really bothers me. Like, can you make sure that you close the shower curtain? He was like, okay. So they thought I was so weird, but they did it.
Yeah.
I got snowmaned more than anybody in that whole suite situation. I also lived with, Emily was my matron of honor. Like we actually, today is our 8-year anniversary of friendship. She texted me.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so I can say that she's quite neurotic, and I love her for it. She really taught me how to like keep it clean. But like, we had these rugs that she hated. They were my rugs, and like because they moved really easy, like you step on them and then they like fold. And it was like, Snowman, I am going to murder you if these rugs fold one more time. Or like she taught me about clearing the microwave. Oh. Now I have to have the microwave cleared. So then I got in with Joseph. I was like, and I think ours is penguin. Our safe word is penguin.
I love it. Yes.
And so he'll come up to me. He's like, okay, we're going to have we call it a penguin moment.
Yeah.
Like penguin moment when you, I don't know, park behind me and block me in.
Yeah.
And then I have to get out in the morning and I can't, like, I'm getting, like whatever the situation is. I will say it's silly, but it really like kind of sets up. So like if I hear penguin, if he hears penguin, we know it's like I'm coming out of love because I want to live in a peaceful environment with you and I care about our habitat as one. And it works. Like, it sounds dumb. It works.
No, it sounds like it works. I get where you're coming from. Communication is so important. And it was definitely something in my relationship that we had to figure out because it was hard. I think it's really hard to approach people with these feelings. And you're like, and at least for me, I'm like, am I going to hurt this person's feelings? Yeah. Like, I'm afraid to confront them. And so, I mean, especially with the romantic partner, that communication and being able to trust that person and using like a safe word or being able to facilitate a conversation with them is like such an amazing thing. And something like in the past couple months, I've realized how important it is in a relationship to be able to truly say anything and everything to your partner.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise you're holding things in and then resentments happen.
You can't be walking on eggshells. Like, no. You can't come up with defenses. That's when, people, especially right before I got married, and like everybody's doing that. Like, marriage is so hard. Marriage is hard, but it's worth it. Every time somebody said that to me, I was like, please, respectfully, fuck off. And I've only been married like 6 months, so like let's take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I never liked that because I was like, with marriage, you have hard conversations for sure. Like, yeah. You have harder conversations and you have to talk about, especially when you're merging finances, like you're going to have to, you're be put in harder places and be more honest. But I don't know. At this point in my 6 months of marriage, that makes me an expert. I don't think it should be hard. Like, you have to go through harder things together. That's kind of the point.
Right. It's the point. I think for me, I had to have that realization. I think especially in media society, like relationships are sometimes painted in this very like Disney-esque way. And I think when I stopped looking at that and realizing that we are two individuals, we will go through our own hardships individually, then we'll go through hardships together. And it's really just like how we like show up to those things. I think before I was showing up in this way of like, oh my gosh, like anything that slightly rocks the boat, it's wrong. Like this shouldn't be happening. And now I'm like, oh, okay, this is rocking the boat, and like I can show up and we can be okay, and we'll work on this together, or I'll be there to support you.
Yeah.
But
100%.
yeah, relationships are crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning so much like in my mid-20s and 20s just about relationships.
Oh, I'm fascinated by people who are like dating.
Yeah.
Because fun fact about me, I've never been on a first date.
Me either.
Oh my God.
Me
Okay.
either. Oh
Okay,
my gosh.
Okay.
So
you understand. Like
Yes.
I've dated 2 people.
Yeah.
It's like seriously. I had like a 2-week like talking when I was like 16. But and both of them I was friend, like of course Joseph I met when third grade, and the other guy I was friends with, and so we never, and it was high school, like we never went on a first date. I've never been on a date with somebody I didn't know. Like
Me either.
I'm fascinated by dating culture.
Me
Fascinated
too,
by
because it's so funny. I went through this period in my current relationship where I was like freaking out because I was like, wait, I could like really actually see like a future, like a forever with you. Like I've never been on a first date before, because like in high school, like the crummy boys didn't take me out on like a real date. It was like, you want to hang out in my bedroom and like Netflix and chill. So I never really went out on like a date. I really rarely used dating apps. There was like a period of time during COVID where I was on like Hinge and stuff for like maybe 2 weeks or something. I like don't understand how people find people off of it, but maybe it's because I'm just like inexperienced.
Yeah.
Like I would just like swipe, and then like at that point in time I hadn't come out as bisexual, so I was only like seeing guys on the dating apps, and they were just like the conversation was so bland, or it was like, you want to hook up, like whatever. And I was just like, how does this happen? And I know people who have found like people on dating apps.
Yeah, it's like it's no longer, just like a hookup thing. Like so many people meet each other on apps.
No, one of my best friends from home met her guy on Tinder. Alana Dunn, who's also a podcast host, she just got engaged to somebody that she met on Hinge. So like I know it's possible, but like I think because I never got that like dating skill, like I was just fucking awkward.
I think it just sounds like all my friends are I love listening to their dating lives, because it's just like it's literally, I mean, it's like a TV show for me. They're like, Sarah, this is my life. And I'm like, no, but can you tell me the next episode? Because I'm like ready. And I'm like a almost painfully social person.
Yeah.
Obviously, my husband leaves. I'm like, I have to go somewhere to a new city.
Yeah.
And I love people. Like I love it. My favorite place in the world is in a room full of people I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So
that's a skill.
I adore it. And so I of course I don't regret anything. But part of me is like, what would I be like dating? Because I think I might be one of those people that's a serial dater.
Yeah.
Because I would just be fascinated with just like meeting people, and just like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? Want to be friends? And they'd be like, are you a golden retriever? Like, are you home right? You'd be like, this is my 6th date today. Just keep going.
I know. I feel like I either like at least with my friends and people I know who are dating. Actually, today, funny, I posted on the CFC Instagram and was like, what's something you're struggling with in your 20s right now? And so many people came back with dating.
Really?
Because I do think sometimes it can be hard, and then you get discouraged by the dating apps, and then you're like, I just want to meet somebody in person. But like knowing what New York City like nightlife culture is like, it can be really
hard. I couldn't imagine dating here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be insane.
Yeah, I just don't know how people do it. So if you're out there doing it, I'm so happy and proud of you, because I literally tried to do it like in very short increments of time and was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is so funny. But changing gears a little bit, because I know we both have gone through career changes. You were a chemist and now you work in social media and marketing. You're on TikTok, podcasting. And so I'm kind of wanting to go back to like the beginning. What did you want to be when you grew up? Words. What did you want to be when you grow up? And was it like a chemist?
Oh my gosh, no. No. I didn't even go into college wanting to be a chemist.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think that I think of like me when I was little.
Yeah.
And I think there was like two versions of my answer to that question.
Okay.
Especially when I was younger. There was the version of this is what's realistic and this is the world that I grew up in and what an actual career looks like. And then there was like the one behind my head that was, I didn't even consider it like a dream or a maybe. It was a fantasy. Like it was just, like I'd like to think about this sometimes.
Yeah.
And like in the forefront, like I grew up around STEM people. So STEM really was all I knew.
Okay.
All I was really introduced to. There wasn't entrepreneurial classes, in elementary school or middle school or anything. I wasn't really introduced to that. And so, or even like creative stuff.
Yeah.
And so I knew like, for a while it was a marine biologist when I was like really little. And then I went to a 4-year medical program in high school. Like, then it was interventional radiologist. Like, but it had to be, long name and complicated and smarty pants.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to perform. I've always wanted to be in front of people.
Yeah.
And I feel like saying that like can sound embarrassing. I'm just like, it's everybody
coming from
has
a performer from her for her whole life. It is not.
It's like, I feel like people can think that sounds like narcissistic or something, but no, I loved being in front of people. I loved entertaining. I loved being on stage. I loved any chance I got to be the center of attention. And so, but it didn't even occur to me that was like a skill or a want or like a career choice. So I went through, studied science. I was a STEM kid. I was in on the honors and AP classes, like top 10%. Scholarships, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Went to school and on an academic scholarship as well, which I just find funny and so thankful for since I don't use my degree. So thankful. And I was gonna go for physics.
Okay.
I really loved physics. Still do. I think it's very interesting. And but wasn't really sure what I was gonna do with physics.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with that really? Because I knew I didn't want to be a physicist. So I'm not 100% sure where my head was at.
Yeah.
But the school that I got a scholarship to did not have physics as a program. Super small. At that time, all women's school. That's also not my plan.
Okay.
But they said, hey, you want to come for free? And I was like, well,
free.
You drive a hard bargain.
Yeah.
So I said next best thing was chemistry. And then I just kind of did it. And,
wow.
Everybody would say like, oh my gosh, you're a chemistry major, that's so cool. Oh my gosh, you must be so smart, like so successful, that's amazing, you're doing great. And I really, especially coming from like, I was put on the educational track of like the honors courses, and like I was a hard honors kid down to my wiring. And so when somebody else was telling me that I was doing a good job, I felt that I was on the right path.
Yes.
And so I did chemistry, and everybody's like, you're so cool, you're so smart, like that's so impressive, awesome. And I went all the way into jobs, and I was applying to marketing jobs. But of course, coincidentally, marketing jobs don't know what to do with a chemist when it's on a resume. So I didn't get any of those. And so I was like, maybe I really am meant to be a chemist. Got a research and development chemist job straight out of college. Don't know who authorized that, by the way. A research and development. What? Like, that is not an entry-level job. But I got it. And again, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so impressive. What are you doing after graduation? I'm going to be a research and development chemist. And they're like, that is so amazing. Like, wow. So I was like, okay, I must be doing the right thing. Right thing. 6 months in, I was unrecognizable. I mean, a shell of a person.
Yeah.
And I would not have understood what that meant listening to this, in college. I did really well in college. I was at like what I thought was almost my peak. I was like scared. So I was like, it doesn't get this good and not go sour. And then went sour after graduation, that's not how life goes. But to me, I thought, I peaked in college. Like I did something wrong. But I wouldn't have understood what that meant to say a shell of a person. I don't think you do until you've gone to that place where 100%. You've truly lost your identity and who you are. It took 2 years of therapy of healing to get back to the person that I was post that job. And it wasn't just that job. I was never supposed to be on the path, or never say never, like everything happens for a reason, but certainly wasn't supposed to be a chemist. And I bebopped out of there. Yeah,
no, I get that. It is so hard. I was honestly writing about this in my notes the other day, when you get that like high or that I'm enough off of like achievements, because
yeah.
I was the same as a kid. I got my like, I am doing good, I am worthy because I am achieving things. And so when that suddenly went away, it was like, what am I doing? And like, I've found myself in different ways trying to like get the approval of my parents or other people and be like, am I doing a good job? Because for a while, it's been like, oh, you're doing this. Like, how are you making money from that? Like, and all of these, intriguing, intrusive questions. So I totally like understand you and feel you when you say that, you had this want for that achievement.
Yeah. And I needed a label as well. That was a big thing when I left the chemistry job. And that was after I had my first panic attack. I had my first anxiety attack. I didn't know what that was. And so I left. That was kind of like straw that broke the camel's back. And my biggest worry was what people like. I was like, please don't ask me what I do.
Yeah.
Like my biggest.
Yes.
I was like, my worst fear was somebody saying, so what do you do? Because at that point, like I didn't know. Like I had learned how to do school. I had learned how to do a very like curriculum driven path where there's a date, there's a graduation. All of a sudden you get out of college and that's not what life is like. There's no like course schedule, there's no check boxes, there's no like you can run around. And I was like, how do I achieve life? Like how do I do good? How do I get the A? How do I like be successful? And there's no roadmap. And I was not taught how to do life on your own with no roadmap, nobody else telling you how to do it, nobody else telling you what the success metrics were. I didn't know what bars to hit, so I had no idea who I was. And so the labels thing, like, that scared the crap out of me.
I know. I feel you. I think that it's something Audrey and I talk about all the time on the podcast. Like when you get out of college, how you're just kind of like thrust into this wide open life. And because you've been in school for so long, you have no idea what to do with it. I feel you. I was so used to like the regimen of like, okay, I go to class, I study for class, I get hopefully like a good grade in class. And then now you're just like in this wide open life and nobody's giving you a grade for like waking up in the morning or like, you know, doing your laundry or going to work. And so it becomes so hard when you are trained to like get this achievement off of grades and off of like these school and curriculum things when that's just like not in real life.
No, and there's not an end. Like I always felt like I was staring into the abyss. I was like, I literally have my entire life to live. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? You know? And I thought, I don't know. Like everybody, and you know what? Everybody was like, Sarah, don't worry about it. You're going to be successful. Like, you're going to be great. It's, don't even worry about it. You've always done well. And I was like, stop saying that.
Yeah.
Like, this time I'm not. Like, this time, this is it. Like, I'm not doing well. And so I know what they were trying to say. I'm so thankful for their encouragement, because it really does work out. Like, and but
how did you like make your way? So like you leave your job and you're going through this hard time. Like how did you make your way through the hard time?
Yeah. So I left the pharmaceutical company I was at and I moved back home. I gave up I got somebody to take over my lease and at my apartment, moved back home. I gave myself 2 weeks to, I thought, find myself. Yeah, that didn't take that took a little longer than 2 weeks. But I was like, okay, I need to make money. Like I need to do something. So I went to work at TJ Maxx. I had worked in retail before, so I was like, cool. So I worked at TJ Maxx and I started working at TJ Maxx around November of 2019.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Okay, I wanted to do marketing and I had a minor in communications.
Okay.
So it was like, I knew that there was an interest there. And I wasn't going to go back to school because I didn't pay for the first one. So I was like, I don't really want to pay for another one, to be honest. So I was like, let me see what I could do with what I have. And so I read books. On my lunch break, I would read marketing books. And in my brain, I was like, okay, all these marketing experts, like all these business experts, whatever, they have like lived through life. And so they've put their life in this book. So basically, if I read 10 books, that's 10 lives. I'll have lived 10 lives and I've learned 10 lives worth of things. Like I was grappling for like something. And that's what taught me everything about that I know about marketing.
Interesting.
And of course, November 2019, around March of 2020, we had a giant thing happen. And that truly, I think everybody was affected in different ways. That absolutely threw a wrench into my plan. We went home. I'd been connected with this woman who was a freelancer, and she did like freelance copywriting. She had a copywriting business.
Sure.
And so I came onto her team as a freelancer. She taught me what a freelancer was. I didn't know what freelancing was.
Yeah.
But she just said, hey, like, I'll pay you a couple hours a week. She paid me, I think she said, I'll pay you $20 an hour for a couple hours a week to help me out with some of my marketing stuff. And I was like, $20 an hour? I'm rich.
Slay.
Like, absolutely. So I had been working like a couple hours outside of TJ Maxx, and then we shut down. So I went to her, I said, hey, like, I have, more hours to give until we, open back up. Of course, that took several weeks.
Yeah.
By the time that I got the call weeks later to come back to TJ Maxx, we were opening again. I was making more money freelancing than I was at TJ Maxx.
Yeah.
It's retail. It's not that hard to do, but it was still like a big deal.
Right.
And so I entered the world of freelance, which was awesome. And looking back, I would never do it again. I would never do it again. But it was great for what I needed at the time. At the time. Still didn't make a lot of money. Working for yourself is killer.
Yeah.
It is really killer.
Yeah.
So and freelancing is so hard. But I learned so much. And 100% like that experience with her, and that's when I started the podcast in 2020.
Yeah.
When I was like, okay, now I did feel like I was getting in the groove of like I was doing things that interest me.
Yeah.
So then I started Attainable podcast.
Yeah.
On August 11th, which is I remember that because it's my brother's birthday, and apparently I want to make everything about me. So I said, you know what? Let's start the podcast on this
Today.
Yeah. And it was okay. Like there's a life I want. I can see it now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting out of the dark, and I absolutely believe it's attainable. And so let's.
Oh, I love that.
Whatever you're thinking, whatever you thought when you were 4, I think it always comes back to bite you in the ass in a good way. Because now I'm looking back and I'm like, hey, little girl, like you're on camera every day. Like you have an audience. You are on stage. It's just a little bit different than you thought.
Yes. I always tell that to people about TikTok because I did, in fact, grow up like on a stage. And so when I decided to take a step back from that, people were like, what the fuck? Like this is, again, what you do sometimes gets very intertwined with your identity.
So much so. People love, oh my God, because I was a makeup artist for a while.
Yeah.
And like still sometimes I get people's questions like, so are you just doing the makeup thing? I'm like, that was one phase. Like that was a job. Like that was one phase of me.
Yes.
We are literally like 6 years off of that. So
6 years.
I think we should move past it.
No, it's just so crazy. And that was like, at least for me, and I know Audrey as well, like such a hard part about shifting careers or trying other things was that we spent so many years, over decades of our lives doing theater. And so when we were like, like what else is out there? People were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, especially our parents, they're like, what are you doing? And I would always say to my dad and my mom, I'm like, TikTok, podcasting, like this is just another stage to perform on.
Stage.
Yeah. Like think about all these people, millions of followers. They're broadcasting their lives daily like a television show. And so, I love that you said that because I'm like the huge advocate for like how social media can be your stage if you treat it in that way.
Yeah, 100%.
So what would be your advice for people who are like questioning their careers or going through a career change?
Oh man. Well, I mean, advice changes based on like where you're at.
Totally.
For anybody who is currently like in the thick where you're like kind of looking around and you're like, oh, like I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah.
One, that feeling is valid, and no matter, there's probably some truth in it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying jump ship. I will never tell, I was very privileged to have a net with my parents. I could go back home and they allowed me to do that.
Same.
Like, there's absolute privilege there. And so it depends on your situation. But if you're thinking that, there's probably some truth in it, in that there does need to be a change of some sort.
I love that.
And so with that, and also realize like that change can be small. Like it can be like bits and pieces. I feel like when you're in a moment where you feel lost, you really go to these podcasts or like Instagrams or TikToks that really start to like talk about like 9-to-5 life sucks and you should go be a nomad and you should go build a business and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's really awesome for some people. I was that person and I was like, oh my God, if I am not running my own business as a nomad in Costa Rica tomorrow, I think I'm going to fail. I'm freaking out. And it was like, I have to, travel the world or whatever. I thought all I was looking for was like another like way to succeed. Then this person told me that was the way to success. Like, check yourself to see if you're just kind of looking for like another metric of success and you're not actually looking at what would be good to you, like what would be fun to you. If you can, absolutely, like if you can step away from that place and you can like get out. I had somebody message me and was like, how did you find happiness? And this is a girl who's followed me for a while. I went to college with her. I was like, girl, I wish I knew, and I want to be very practical. I'm like, honestly, it was when I switched my jobs. Like that was a huge part. So if you can, I'd say make the switch. If you can't, then make an addition, bring in the hobby. Like for me, I couldn't go straight into marketing. I couldn't go straight into whatever. I didn't even know what I wanted to go straight into. So I brought in books to learn. And I was like, okay, let's see if I like this. And so I can live other people's lives. And if I don't like living their life through their book, then it's not for me. And if you're in a place where you're not sure what you want to do, then start looking at what you don't want to do. That's a lot more clear. And so when I was looking for jobs, I wish I would have really taken a look and been like, do I want to do that every day? And paid more attention to the no's instead of really trying to search for the yeses. Because I didn't know. I couldn't have imagined my job now. And so
many people say that about what they end up doing. It's confusing when you've been doing something for so long and now you're going to shift, and where do you even start? I know for me, like, I was like, I have literally been training and singing, dancing, and acting for like 15 years of my life. Like, where am I going to start? Looking for a real job. And I think you're correct in saying that, like, it is so much about these like small steps and small adjustments. And I do think it's hard with, social media. You're looking at everybody else's life and it all seems to happen so quickly and so perfectly. And so everything for everybody else. But truly, I think most people, it does take years and time to really get to where you're supposed to be.
Anybody I've talked to, it's a very winding road. If I were to go back, like if I could have popped into my dorm room, like I wouldn't have looked at any job boards until January or February. I would not have looked at a job board. I was looking at job boards in like August, like the year before. I was freaking out. I wouldn't have looked at any job boards. And really, I probably would have taken a few months after graduation to just like, mellow out, learn who I was. And if I needed to get a job, I would have went out and found the most fun job possible. Like, I don't know, be a Disney princess for parties, or like your favorite ice cream shop, or like those axe throwing places and work there. Like literally go look at like what's the most fun thing, and that's all you're looking for is somewhere fun. Go work in an amusement park, go be a lifeguard, like whatever seems fun, go do that. And then somebody's gonna argue and be like, okay, but like the entry level experience or like jobs that I want in my career, like they want experiences. Like, great, go get a fun job, learn who you are a little bit. Fuck around a little bit after college. Like
fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out. If you need a job, get a fun one, and then for the experience, that's where I would say freelance on the side. Do little mini projects. Also, if nobody wants to actually hire you for anything, make it up. Like, say you want to be a graphic designer, make it up. Every day, give yourself a new prompt. Be like, Completely Fucking Clueless is coming at me and they want a new logo. Great. Make it. And that's your portfolio. Like, just make shit up. And then all of a sudden you have all this experience and nobody asked you for it. But don't wait for people to come in. I totally get, like, sometimes you need a job. Go get a fun one. And then go learn on the side, because it's a whole new experience after. Like, you really do have to go through a whole new learning experience after college to learn what it's like
100%.
to be out of that system, who you are out of that system, and really what you want.
I 100% agree with you. After college, I went right into like a performing job, but it was only 3 months. And then I came back and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And so it wasn't necessarily fun, but the kids were amazing. I like nannied for a full year.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't something I was really like intending to do, but I agree that it gave me the time, especially when I was making this career change and shift, to like think about and try out different things that I may want to do. It gave me time to create the podcast with Audrey, and it was something I had always wanted to do, but never in college had the time to pursue it because school was so important. I wanted good grades, like all that bullshit. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's interesting because like it's after college, everyone's just like wants a job, that 9 to 5. I want that.
Oh, I wouldn't have. I've been, please. I mean, I remember crying. I'm like, oh, girl, pick yourself up and seriously fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do you wonders. You would have saved yourself 2 years of heartache, girlfriend, and probably gotten to where you are faster.
Yeah, well, at least you found yourself there. You know, I think that's like such the beautiful thing about it, and like getting to listen to yourself and know yourself more. Yeah. We interviewed Meg J last week, and she wrote The Defining Decade. And
oh my god, yeah, I haven't listened to it. Is it so good? Is it coming out? I haven't.
It's gonna come out with something else in like a couple weeks because we did another thing with her. Yeah, and so we've been waiting to align the two projects.
I'm literally that. If anybody hasn't read the book, I adore that book so much. And right after I saw that you were interviewing her, actually a friend of mine was like put up something on her thing. It was like book recommendations. So it's like Defining Decade.
I love her.
Is life-changing. I think I've read it twice through.
Yeah, you know, I read it because we did something in January and I read it once, and then I kind of skimmed it again when we interviewed her last week. But it was interesting. Something she said like on the interview was how you really don't even know who you like truly are until you're like 35.
Yeah.
And
that's exciting.
Yeah. And so she's like, you know, I know things feel so uncertain and so crazy right now, but like it's because that's the time of your life that you're in, and slowly but surely you'll get to know and understand yourself more and more and more. And then by the time, you know, you're in your 30s or older, like you aren't feeling so uncertain because you're so grounded in who you are. And so I think that's what's so like important about our 20s is that we are making those steps every day to continue to know who we are. Yeah. So before we end, I wanted to just talk a little bit about your TikTok and podcast, of course. So you started your podcast in 2020?
2020, yeah. Now I'm thinking about it, it was August 11th, 2020.
2020. And so, you know, you were saying before how like Attainable Podcast came from this idea that like anything that I want is like in reach. And so can you just give a little bit of an idea to our listeners what you talk about on the Attainable Podcast?
Yeah, I bring on a lot of guests because I really want to expose our audience to like a bunch of different paths and how winding they are. And I'm super nosy person. and a lot of times I kept like listening to interviews and I felt like they weren't asking the nosy questions. Okay. So I make sure to like clear, like with my guest, but I'm like, no, I want to know, like when I don't skip the details. And so we really dive deep into other people's journeys just to get a visualization, things that I wish that I would have been exposed to. We just had on a guy who he actually works at my marketing company, but he's also a music manager.
Oh, fierce.
And he worked with like some pretty huge rappers.
Yeah.
And so these are like career paths that I didn't know about. And so I want, you know, people to be exposed to these just as like I wish I would have been exposed to a lot of different things.
Nice.
We have those, and then we also just kind of fun. I really love the fun podcasts. I'll bring on friends so we can, I call them like shoot the shit.
Yeah.
And just talk about like life and the funny things and what's you know, what products that we're loving right now, solo travel and what that's like.
Do you do a lot of solo travel?
I did last year, and then, or I guess 2 years ago, and then with the wedding, of course, like we traveled on hold. But I think I'll do it again. And a lot of people were like really weirded out because at this point, solo travel. I think we were engaged. Yeah, I was engaged. Maybe. No. It was right before I got engaged. But of course, a long-term relationship. They're like, what do you like, where's Joseph? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just going to Costa Rica. Like I went on a solo travel, and I went with a like travel group. So it was like solo travels, but then they set up the itinerary and you met people like you didn't know. People were really weirded out by that. I'm sure they're going to be weirded out weirded out when I go again when I'm married. But like it was super fun. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. How, like, I guess because you said you're really social, you weren't like anxious about like getting to know people and meeting people.
No, my advice is awful when people are like, oh my gosh, I'm like nervous to go because I'm an introvert. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, I would scare you. Like, and I'm also one of those people, like, if somebody's quiet, I
push a little.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna make you cry. Like, I just can't. I'm terrible. I'm sure I'm their worst nightmare.
That's so funny.
I'm awful for advice, but honestly, like, there's so many, different paths, and so if I think when people are nervous, they're like nervous about what other people are going to think about them,
right?
Or, like, whatever. Nobody's thinking about you, I promise.
Yeah.
Like, just let's be honest, like, nobody's thinking about you. Just go, eat, have fun, and if you're nervous, ask somebody where they're from. It's the easiest question, and it will start something.
I know. I feel like I'm pretty extroverted with like people I know, but when it comes to meeting new people, sometimes I can be a little bit closed off. And in this like podcast situation, I've really had to like kind of push myself to be more outgoing with people I do not know. But I'm like, when I meet people in the real world, sometimes I'll like practice for like when I meet people like interviewing wise, so that I can be better at kind of just like listening and coming up with conversation. And so now I like start asking people when I'm out, like these like, where are you from? What do you do? Like all these questions to like try and get them to talk to me a bit. But no, I think that's so admirable because I've done like some traveling, but I've done it, with friends usually. But I always think it's so interesting when I see like people that I follow going on these solo trips. You want to fuck around, find out after college, you go travel. I mean, I hate to be the person that's like, go travel after college. No, but for real, even if you can take like a week trip, it will like go international in some way, shape or form. And you will learn so much about yourself. I traveled in college because I got to study abroad, and then I took a gap year, so I went to New Zealand for a bit.
It was so fun.
And it is. I feel like you learn so much about yourself when you're traveling, especially like when you're not around your parents and things like that. As you're evolving and growing, it can be such a great time to get to know who you are. Where's your favorite place that you've been?
Costa Rica really does have a special place in my heart. Specifically, and I want to go back. Actually, I was going to go back in February, and the plane ticket prices right now are astronomical. It's Costa Rica and in Santa Teresa, and there's a really cool like island beach surfer town. There's a hostel that I really love there, and so I was just going to go back to the hostel, like bring my surfboard, and I just want to.
What a dream!
But yeah, just vibe. That's all I want to do. It's a very like vibes only, and like no thoughts, just vibes. Is all Costa Rica. It's so great, and so I want to go back, but it's been very expensive. So, and it really shouldn't be because it's like an hour flight from Miami. So I'm like, I'm not paying $600. I love you so much. I literally can't. I won't do it. Love that. And then I did actually with my now mother-in-law and my husband, who was at the time boyfriend, of course, after college, we went to Greece and Italy. And
oh my gosh. I love Italy.
Mykonos, Patmos was so. Everybody talks about Santorini, and people do talk about Mykonos, but like the other islands are really
beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but, that's on my bucket list is Greece. My mom is going there this summer. I haven't gotten to go there, but I studied abroad in Florence and traveled around Italy a bit. It's gorgeous.
So I still haven't done the Amalfi Coast, and
me either. I'm
a dumbass, and I was like in February, I was like, I'm gonna do Italian summer, and I realized. The time to plan that would have been last February.
Literally.
So now I need to look for like next summer because I know about February next year, I'm going to look around and be like, I want to do the Italian summer because everybody's going to Positano. And I'm like, I want to be the bitch in Positano, please.
Literally. What is with everybody and their mother going to like Italy over the summer?
I don't know. I want to be them.
I know. It became the trend last summer, and I'm literally like sitting in my bedroom in New York, and I'm like,
pissed.
What? Yeah. Like, how do I get to Italy yesterday?
Yeah.
Like,
you want to go? I will. Let's plan the trip because I need to have my Italian summer so bad.
I know. Everyone's like holding an Aperol Spritz like on the beach in Capri, and I'm like, I want to be there.
I want to be there, please.
I know. I feel like since the pandemic, I've gotten like so out of like the whole like travel thing. It's been tough to get back into it.
Really?
But, yeah. I mean, I've gone on trips like here and there, but I think I'm in the phase of like trying to like make some money so that I can travel and like do the things that I want to do.
Yeah,
so 100%. Cross my fingers.
Something that I did that's how I did Costa Rica and everything, and something I don't know, I installed this like a long time ago, and then we brought it into our finances for our marriage when we merged, is I treated travel like a bill. And so I have a travel savings account. Highly recommend doing like a money market or some high yield savings account.
Yeah.
And I deposit like at one point, in college I was like doing $20 a month, $50 a month, whatever.
Right.
Because I didn't like the idea of, I'm a very spontaneous person. So I didn't like the idea of like when I wanted to go to Positano, I needed to like
save all this money.
Wait. Or if my friend wanted me to go, like if we, they're like, let's go to Nashville, let's go to whatever. I wanted to be able to have the money like at the time. So then I just had a savings account. So anytime, somebody said, hey, like you want to go on a trip next month? I had like a little bulk. And that's worked super well.
That's a good one. I know I was listening to your recent podcast episode and you were talking like about financial things, or like a recent update episode just to like see where you were at. And you were talking about like finance stuff and like your deck with your husband, which I thought was so funny because like now I've gotten used to like the deck terminology.
I didn't even think about it. Like people were making fun of me on my TikTok because I said we just use this internally. Yeah. The fact that I'm now, oh my God, the fact that I now use corporate language, I'm like, who is this bitch?
I know. I'll text Audrey and I'll be like, let's just like touch base.
Touch base. Like, do you want to sync on this? Yeah. Like, can we actually? I don't want to meet. Can we work on this async? Like, oh my God, it's disgusting.
So funny.
It's so funny.
So funny. Okay, my last question for you. We ask everybody on the podcast. Can you tell me a recent time that you felt clueless?
Oh gosh. Okay, this is gonna be like a really like quite practical one. I wish I had something like cooler. But I'm all about practicality. I just got my first car loan. And like the whole license plate, car loan. I literally was going in to try and find out how to pay my car loan this morning. And and especially like getting married, like merging the finances, trying to talk to people. This is where I do feel young, like when I'm trying to talk to people about like at the bank or like you know, at the like whatever office where you have to get your license and like all this kind of stuff. They're like looking at me like, are you a child? I'm like, yes, and I'm trying my best. Like I really don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like trying to call my friends on like how to do things. And that's still like the whole life deck. It is because of me being fucking clueless, trying to get like a married life together, like merging a life with another person and then getting like car loans. And, he's like, he pretty much handled the mortgage, but now I'm taking over like the finances because I like finances a lot more. So I'm just like, oh shit, like there's deeds, there's like, what the hell? And this is the moment where it's like the TikTok sound. I'm just a baby. I'm like, I can't. I'm out. Like you just like shut your laptop. I'm like, I gotta go.
Literally like tax season. I'm like, so fucking clueless. Like, how the fuck do I do any of this? Like, how do I be an adult?
We're like the center of tax season, and I've done it years before, and I still every year I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I literally have no idea what's going on. Like, thankfully this year I'm very privileged to have like my parents' accountant helping me, but God only knows.
I had to get one.
I'm like, what the fuck even? What does any of this mean? I'm like.
Oh,
it's so bad.
Life deck, dude. Life deck was the answer.
Everyone, get a life deck.
Get the life deck. It is truly. It says like on the life deck. It says the life deck reference when you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Slay.
That's the title. I was like, yep, that's exactly what you do.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
All your socials, give it to them.
All the socials. So me, I'm Sarah E. Baus Sarah with an H, E, and then Baus on everything. That's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. Attainable Podcast is on Instagram, and you can find it anywhere that you find podcasts. And then we do post the podcast on my YouTube. So if you can find Sarah E. Baus, then you'll find all of our podcast episodes. And I think that covers it. Oh, and Pinterest. I fucking love Pinterest.
I
love Pinterest. And we pin a lot. So if you are an aesthetic girly, go follow my Pinterest.
Get on that Pinterest. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Have an amazing Tuesday, amazing week. And don't forget to be motherfucking clueless. Bye.